Hi guys, this is Mrs. Hill. This is our first lesson of the week. Our new book for this week, the title is Antarctica. The author is Helen Coucher. Just by looking at the cover of the book, it looks like this book is going to talk about penguins. If you look up at the top of the cover, looks like some penguins are walking along some snowy cliffs. This book is considered fiction. I'm going to consider it realistic fiction while it is illustrated, and the illustrations are really vibrant and really great illustrations. All the information in here is realistic, but it is considered a fiction story, so we're going to consider it realistic fiction. So what we will do this week, we will work through this book. We have 4 lessons. On the 5th lesson will be a review. This is an AR book as well, so we can take an AR test at the end of the week. There will also be a little question answer assessment toward the end of the week. Won't be anything difficult, multiple choice, but we'll work through that on Friday. So before we get started reading, we're going to preview our skill packet. This will be listed in your Google Classroom under Antarctica skill packet. It is a 2-page skill packet. There are 2 pages of questions. So when you click on that to open it, the first page, the questions are not numbered, but I numbered them for you. So as I'm referring to those questions, they'll have numbers on them. You won't be able to number them in your document, but I numbered them just for reference sake. At the very top of your first page of your skill packet, you will see a forward and a backward arrow. If you click on the forward arrow, it will take you to the second page of questions. There are 2 pages. So as we work through the questions this week, you will be responsible for all 6 questions and both pages. So what I'd like to do before we do today's lesson, we're going to do a question preview. Oftentimes when you read the questions first, it gives you a nice preview of the book. The story tells you what the subject is about, also gives you a little bit of an idea of do we need to write in complete sentences? Is it a fill-in-the-blank activity? So those questions we will preview. We're just going to do the first 3 for today. We will do the last 3 a little later on. So the first question in the top left-hand corner, the top left-hand box, this skill sheet is set up. As you type in the box, your answer will kind of format inside the box. I will write by hand as we go through this, but since you're working through your Google Classroom, you will type in your documents like we have before. So inside the text box is where you will answer your questions. The directions say answer the questions using the book. Use complete sentences. So we will practice writing in complete sentences. We're going to practice restating part of the question and filling in the answer with information from the book. Once we get more practice with that, we'll go on and we will make those questions a little lengthier in weeks to come. So our first question, what kinds of animals live in Antarctica? So we know that animals is plural, so we will be reading about more than one type of animal that lives in Antarctica. So we'll see what animals our book shares with us. Our second question, what do the emperor penguins do? I think emperor penguins are super cool. So we'll see what the emperor penguins do. That box is kind of lengthy. We might have multiple sentences there to explain what the emperor penguins do. And our third question, what do the wattle seals do? So we know we're going to learn about penguins and seals, at least 2 different animals today as we read. So those first 3 questions is what we will get started with. the first part of our book, we will break this book into 4 lessons. There are 37 pages total, so we will break them into little sections. I think it's easier that way to read in small sections, answer questions, and then we'll do a skill sheet review and a read aloud from beginning to end before you take your AR test and complete your multiple choice activity. So as we look through the beginning of the book, what we will find here, again, the title is Antarctica. Helen Coucher is the author. As you look at these pretty illustrations, it does give you a nice picture for you to visualize as we read what life in Antarctica is about. On page 6, it gives us, looks like we got some seals, we've got some penguins. As we keep turning the pages, on pages 8 and 9, this is where we meet the emperor penguins. So we will see what the emperor penguins, what they do in Antarctica. That was one of our questions. What do emperor penguins do? So I guess we're going to find out. In today's lesson, we will find out what they do. Check that out. Can you kind of see that? They're all kind of huddled together in a big circle. And then it looks like these guys go swimming. So that's as far as we're going to read today. We are going to go back, and we will go back this way to page 8 and 9. See how big those guys are? And if you look at this illustration, there is an egg right here on his feet. Let's find the word nestles right down here, the bottom of page 9. The female emperor penguin leaves her egg with her mate, who nestles it on his feet. So we will find out what nestles, what he does with that egg, how he nestles it on his feet. So we'll figure that out, and we'll explore the meaning of that word as we keep going. This is a really neat illustration, I think. Let's take a look up here at the top on page 11, the word huddles. And on page 13, we will find the word lurks. So take a look at those illustrations. In storms, the male huddles with others for warmth. Meanwhile, the danger lurks in the sea where the female penguin is feeding. So as we read, we will kind of get a better understanding of what those particular words mean. We will find some answers to questions 1 and 2. What kinds of animals live in Antarctica? And question number 2, what do the emperor penguins do? So as we begin to read today, we will figure that out. And again, the title is Antarctica by Helen Coucher. In the cold far south in Antarctica live emperor penguins, wattle seals, and Adele penguins. So it looks like this book's going to tell us about at least 3 animals that live in Antarctica. The emperor penguin lays her eggs in the winter when it is dark both day and night. Then she leaves to feed at sea. While she is gone, her mate carefully nestles the egg on top of his feet for 2 months. Can you imagine balancing an egg on your feet for 2 months? That's a long time. He huddles in a tight circle with his friends against the freezing winter storm. So they're all going to stand around with these eggs nestled on their feet. Meanwhile, his mate is feeding at sea, where the danger lurks. So that's where we're going to stop today. We're going to go back and start our answers. We're going to find out in tomorrow's lesson what danger lurks. So we're going to leave that for tomorrow. Question number 1, what kinds of animals live in Antarctica? So back in the beginning of our story, it told us about 3 types of animals that live in Antarctica: emperor penguins, wattle seals, and Adélie penguins. So on page 7, that's where we are going to find the answer to that. What we're going to do is we're going to restate part of that question to begin our answer. So I think we're going to start by leaving a blank line here. Kinds of animals live in Antarctica. So how many different types of animals did the author tell us about in the beginning? Was it 2 or was it 3? So you will fill in right here. You're going to fill in, you're going to use a word number. It's a number in word form, excuse me. So you'll fill that blank in. The second sentence will say the blank kinds of animals are and the reason I left those, so the blank kinds of animals are, this one is going to start with an E, so you're going to fill in blank, blank. This one's a W. I'm going to give you the first letter because it's kind of tricky. And so I gave you the first letter of each of the 3 animals that were mentioned on page 9. Or I'm sorry, on page 7. In the cold far south in Antarctica live emperor penguins, wattle seals, and Adélie penguins. So that was a 2-sentence answer to our first question. So if you need to pause the video, you might want to open 2 tabs. You'll have your skill packet open in one tab. You can open your video in another tab. If you need to pause the video on page 7, you can do that while you fill in your answer on your skill sheet. So question number 2, what do the emperor penguins do? So we're going to start by restating part of the question to begin our answer. So we're going to restate this part of our question. The emperor, and you're just copying straight from the question. The emperor penguins. So we're going to start with that. And we are going to go back to page 9. The emperor penguin lays her egg in winter when it is dark, both day and night. Then she leaves to feed at sea. While she is gone, her mate carefully nestles the egg on top of his feet for 2 months. So the emperor penguins lay their eggs in winter when it is dark both day and night. I think that's a great way to answer that question. the emperor penguins, and I'm going to leave you and I'm going to give you the first word. They lay, I'm going to say they lay their egg in winter. So if you need to go back to page 9 and pause page 9 on your video with your other tab open in your skill packet, the emperor penguin lays their eggs in winter when it is dark both day and night. I took that information straight from the text. And the last word of that sentence is night. Okay, so it kind of gives you a little hint. If I had you in the classroom, we'd be using the text in our skill sheet. We'd be practicing writing these sentences, but I realize while we're virtual and we're using Google Classroom to use these skill sheets on a digital format, it's a little bit harder sometimes, I think, to get your answer typed in just the way you want it. But so I gave you a little hint from page 9 how to finish question number 2. So again, if you have any questions, I'm always available through Remind. You can message me through there, or go back, watch part of the video again, pause that video on the page that helps you get your question answered. Do not turn your skill sheet in until Friday. We will work through this skill packet all week long. So again, do not turn your skill packet in. We will use this skill packet all week. Your answers automatically save as you type your answers in them throughout the day. So I'll see you tomorrow for lesson 2.